Hello everyone, I'm Dave Robbins with Endtime Ministries, and this is your Prophecy in the News. I want to talk to you today about gun control, nationally and internationally. And you say, well, how in the world does that gun control, how does that tie in with the prophecy of the Bible? Well, in Revelation chapter 13, verse 1 through 10, it gives a description of a global government that will be in power just before the second coming of Jesus Christ. Well, did you know that this world government currently exists in the form of the United Nations? Since the very beginning, the United Nations has been all about the universal disarmament of every citizen on earth. The United Nations Charter, which they currently run on, was drafted by Alger Hiss, who was a convicted communist spy. This charter commissions the Security Council with the job of regulating and in some cases disarming the citizens or the masses of the earth. This includes everything from nuclear weapons, conventional weapons, all the way down to small arms. You say, well, why in the world would they want to disarm everybody? Well, I think it's kind of self-evident why. The only reason for gun control or disarmament is absolute control with no means of resistance. They can walk in and do whatever they want once they disarm everybody. This goes right along with the prophecies of the Bible concerning a one world government. The United Nations would never be able to globally govern the masses until they can effectively remove the means of resistance to that control. So always remember this, control is the opposite of freedom. Control, opposite of freedom. The more control, the less freedoms you have. Recently, look at what happened to the United Nations and what the United Nations and NATO did in Libya and to Muammar Gaddafi. There's no way that that would have been possible for them to go in and take over their oil fields, basically take over the country, if Libya would have had a nuclear arsenal. But since Libya had basically not that much of a means of resistance to the United Nations and NATO, they were able to basically walk right in and in just a few months take over all their oil fields and everything. They took over the whole country because there was not that much of a means of resistance. So imagine, to take it one step further, imagine a world government ruled by the Antichrist seeking to enforce his will upon the globe. And now you would know why they would try to disarm everyone. Absolute control with no means of resistance. It just keeps on right on down the line, the same thing. Think of it like this. In 2006, when an international small arms treaty was proposed to President Bush, the United States was the only nation that opposed that. However, President Obama and Hillary Clinton have reversed that decision in 2010 and pledged to support a United Nations arms trade treaty. And of course, that is going to be finalized here in July of 2012, just a couple of months away. So we see that standing right before us. And in 2006, Bush opposed it. Now Obama and Hillary Clinton are all for it, and they're headed right for it here in July. If ratified, if this treaty was ratified by our Senate, this international arms trade treaty would place restrictions on the sale of guns worldwide. So remember what I said, the only reason for universal disarmament is for absolute control with no means of resistance. So the world government, what we're seeing here is the world government tightening its grip on the citizens of the world. They're trying to reduce the amount of nuclear weapons, conventional arms, all the way down to small arms, rifles and pistols and things like that. That's where it's eventually headed, and it's not going to be just internationally, but eventually it'll get down to the national level, the state level, and the local level. And so they're trying to restrict everything, and since the United States is basically the last bastion of freedom in the world, the absolute most important thing, one of the most important things on the United Nations list is to restrict those guns and the control of guns. Who have them? What they'd like to do is put more laws, throw out more laws. What's going to happen in the future? And what it's doing is it will get, in trying to curb illegal guns, what they do is restrict the freedoms of legal citizens. So it all starting with this international, national, state, and local levels, and it'll eventually come down to every one of us United States citizens. So it all ties back into the Bible with the world government mentioned in Revelation chapter 13. So are we living in the end times? Absolutely we are. The world government is closing its noose right now. And the question I get all the time, are we living in the end times? Absolutely. Gun control, is the opposite of freedom. They're taking away your freedoms, and it's all about the world governing system mentioned in Revelation 13. Thank you for watching today. I'm Dave Robbins with Endtime Ministries, and this is your Prophecy in the News.